Welcome to Engineering Scale Models. I'm Jason, your host. I do models and Nintendo Switches. What's up with that? We are back with Switch 1007. This is part 2. Yes, last time we went over our inspection, pulled the USB port, found out that we had a balloon filter, and I stuck a filter on here to put on there, but I need to clean up this USB port for things. I'm going to take off my little filter replacement because I believe even though that the pad was damaged, I can put the filter on there and then add a little UV solder mask and cover that up, and we'll see that later in this video. But I have an interesting tool here that I featured on a live stream, and I'm going to talk about it in this video to do this port. That's why I separated this repair into a couple videos. So normally I would take this, I would heat it up with my soldering iron, and I would just basically wick the solder away that's on there, and then install a new port with the hot air station. But this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to use a mini hot plate. This is the MHP30 mini hot plate preheater. I've used this on a live stream to do a port, and I am working on getting it figured out to do it more efficiently. So this is the mini hot plate here. Now, what I want to see here is I want to move this out of the way and go over this for a little bit. So it is a little hot plate here. It's got little wing feet that go on the bottom, and it gets up to about 350 degrees. So what I plan on doing is taking the switch out of this. I'm not going to use that holder, and getting it on the hot plate like so, and then using that to preheat the board, wick away all the holes, and then apply new solder, and then move on from there. So let's see, and I want to see in this if I can power my mini hot plate from the bench power supply. So I'm going to get out my bench power supply cable that goes to a barrel jack. I'm going to get the adapters for the supply, and I'm going to get a USB-C to barrel jack because this little thing is USB-C. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully not going to damage the unit doing this. I'm going to take my cable here. I'm going to plug in. This cable is rated for 350 volts at 32 amps, so it'll be plenty beefy. I'm not sure what the jack is rated to, but this says it will run on 20 volts, 60 watts. So I'm going to increase my current on my meter to 3.2 amps. I'm going to max it out, and then I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to let's do 15 volts to start and see if that even powers the unit. So I'm going to plug this into the back like so. I'm going to turn on my meter. It does power it. And let's get to heating here. And it's at 15 volts. It's drawing 2.47 amps. So it's drawing, it's not maxing out the supply. So that's good. Actually put that on the screen for you guys. So that's heating up. I can increase the voltage a little bit, I bet, to the 20 volts. So at 20 volts, it is drawing the 3 amps. So it's at 20 volts, it's drawing the 3 amps. So let me show you here. And let's put that on the screen. There we go. So you can see how it maxes the supply out at 20 volts. It's showing 63 watts of power. That's a pretty impressive heater. It's already at 115, 120. So that is quite interesting. So I'm going to unplug this, let that cool back down, turn off my supply. So now I know I can control do my supply with that. And I would like to thank, there's a YouTuber out there, Mage Repair. He doesn't have a lot of subscribers right now, but he's very good. He was the one who told me about these USB-C to barrel jacks, that I can not only do this, but I can also run the switch on 5 volts and see what kind of power it's drawing. So check him out. I might be able to put a link in the description, but it's Mage Repair. He's a very good channel. He does a lot of console repair and things like that. So apparently my meter has to be open to be active. Okay, it seems to be fine now. Okay, so that's going to cool down for a bit while I get this set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Omni device here, and I'm going to take my Nintendo switchboard. Now, I have worked this all out in a previous time. I need to get this semi-level here. That's a little on an angle. So what I want to do is I want to put something behind this. I clamp it down. This is pretty level. Okay, so there. And then we're going to put this under here like so. So this is going to go under there. Now, no matter what height I set my Omnivice to, it won't heat this up. So it won't reach it. So what I do is I use my iPinch vise. So this is a combination of tools that I have found that are effective for this, and I put the board in the Omnivice wrong. So, okay, so if I come in here like so, it will slide there, and then that will slide under there like so. But this is fine for wicking away the pads and stuff, but when I go to drop the port in, I need to raise it up a little bit. So in order to do that, I just use my little mat right here, and use my mat in this orientation to where I raise up the Omnivice a little bit, and then that gives me the clearance to drop a port on with teasing it with a little bit of hot air. So, but right now I'm just going to do it like so, so I can clean the pads off. So I'm going to turn it this, I guess this is the way it's going to be. So we got that under there like so. We're going to plug in our mini hot plate. I'm going to turn it on here. I'm going to try to get a different camera angle here so you guys can see this better. Oh, I'm going to turn on the supply. Okay, what I'm going to do is turn this on, and then I'm going to hit this button, and then I'm going to raise the temperature, max it out. So I'm going to max the temperature out. So you should see the power supply start drawing power to heat this up. It's at 103. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide this back under there like so. So that it gets evenly heated. So, and I'm going to turn on my FX 951 soldering station. I'm using the what is this? The FM 2027 with a chisel tip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some leaded solder to the. I'm going to get some flux. I'm going to add some leaded solder to the ground pins. What I'm going to do, it's already at 207 degrees, so this shouldn't take much to add some leaded solder to these. Okay, and then I'm going to just get a ball of leaded on my iron. Add some to the ground legs, the actual pins. Alright, so we added some to the pins. Put our iron in the holder. And let me get rid of some of that flux real quick. Okay, so this is at 299, so this is heating up nicely. So I'm hoping that I can get you in close enough here. Nope, it won't let me go in. Let's see here if I can get you in close enough so you can see me wick this away. Okay, now let me see if I can do this. Yes, and so you can see it on a different angle there. Okay, hopefully, now it's at 350 already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my solder wick in my tweezers here. I'm going to fold the end over like I do. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to add a little bit of flux. I'm going to take my iron here, and I'm going to wait for it to get to temperature. I'm going to wick away this hole, wick away that hole, wick away that hole, and then I'm going to here these holes, get those cleared out. I'm going to trim the end of my wick here. Well, that is right. That camera is right over. Hold on, sorry about that. There we go. It's right over there. So you see how those holes are clear? Let's clear that off of there, and let's see if we can clear this last hole right here without touching the pads. So there, all those holes are cleared. I just want to add a little bit more flux and solder to the port here. Add a little bit more leaded solder to that. Okay, so we did that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off of this hot plate for a bit. And I'm going to let this cool down just for a little bit so I can clean off this this flux on here. Just like so, clean off that flux. And I need to look at this under the microscope. So I'm going to look at this under the microscope to see if I have enough solder on those pins. So it doesn't appear that I do. So I am going to remedy that situation by adding some solder to those pins. I'm just going to leave the heat plate on for right now. Nice little pillow pads. Okay, so there we go. Now I feel like I have enough solder on there. I had some issues with not having enough solder on a time that I did a port, and I like to make that mistake again. I like to learn from my mistakes. So I'm going to clean that up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to move this over here underneath the camera. That's what I want. So like this, and then I'm going to do that like that. And we are going to heat this up a little bit with this mini hot plate. And I'm going to come in and tease it with some hot air also. So I'm going to get me a USB port out. Now this isn't a 100% way to do this, guys. This is not a 100% full way of doing this. I'm just showing you an example of you can use one of these hot plates to help you like clear out the ground holes and all that good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my tweezers so they're not sticky with flux. That heats up a little bit. I don't know how long this hot plate can run before it burns out the heater. I guess we're really putting this through its paces here. So, okay, so we have the iron. We have this heating up here. Let's grab a port. And we're going to add some flux to this. Now, I don't have the aid of the microscope to let me know when this solder is molten. So I'm hoping that I can see it on the scope. So I got my hot air set to it's going to be set to 420. I can get it set to 420. It's going to be set to 420 and about 50% airflow, which on my station is 60. I will do 50. All right, so I'm going to come in here and then I'm going to move some stuff out of my way here. And then I'm going to tease this area with a little bit of hot air. I'm using my camera to see when the pads. See, this is difficult. Normally I use the yeah, I think that's good. So I'm going to set this port down there. That didn't go at all as planned. Some of those two ground holes didn't melt. So let's try this again. And let's push it down, add a little bit more heat. Okay, so there, that should be set on there. So I'm going to take this off of the hot plate. That should be connected. We're going to test it in a second. So I'm going to let that board cool down. I'm going to turn off the hot plate. And then I'm going to set it to the side. I'm going to unplug it and set it to the side because it is hot. And then, chip, I just burned myself with it. Fantastic. So I'll show you that right there. It just barely touched my skin, barely touched me, and it burned me. So that's fun. I get burned there a lot. As you can see, my previous burn from the hot air station was there, and now I got burned from that hot plate. We'll definitely barbecue. Steve, one of my YouTube followers who talks to me regularly. Sorry I haven't gotten back to you, Steve, but you mentioned that it would barbecue my finger, and you were not kidding. It will barbecue a finger. So that feels like it's solid in there. So I'm going to take it out of the Omnivice here. Take get out of the omni-vise, get my little wedge out there, get rid of the omni-vise. And we're going to take a look at this here. So that feels solid, like it's connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my stick vise. And I'm going to solder the ground legs on this. Then I'm going to check the pins. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to focus this. I'm going to solder the outer ground pins so that it will be stable for testing. Flux. Definitely use a fume extractor. I didn't turn mine on. All right, so now we're going to clean that up with the board is semi-cooled down. So I'm going to get a fresh Q-tip here. And I know that was hard to see through the scope, guys, but I just did the ground legs. Let's clean this up. All right, so I'm going to use some flux remover to scrub this black caked on stuff that ended up being from the hot plate. And then we need to do some testing on this board here. All right, so now that is semi cleaned off, I'm going to come in here with some isopropyl alcohol. Clean that up. Try to get that all good. Flip it over. Don't worry about drying it off. I want to be careful how I clean this off because of that torn trace that is on top there. So I'm going to use my soft brush. All right, now we're going to dry this off here. If there's any flux in the port, I will clean that off with some contact cleaner later. Right now, I want to check to make sure these pins are good. This time, I'm going to zoom in and switch to the scope camera. So we're going to drop this down here. So we can see better. Okay, so there we go. Clear. Now let's check these pins here. That one's loose. That one's loose. So these are all loose. Hopefully the underside is soldered. If not, this was an epic failure, and I'm not going to do that method again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here with my iron. I'm going to add some flux to that. Add some flux. And I'm going to add some solder and solder these. Hopefully solder these stubborn legs here. There we go. I think I got a bridge there. There we go. A little bit drag soldering. Some people will be happy about that. Okay, so let's check these pins again. They all seem to be good. So I don't know. I'm hoping that that middle row got locked down. So let's clean that up. All right, get that all cleaned up. So let's go out of here. Now let's do some testing on this. So now what we want to do is we want to find out if the pins are all connected. So I'm going to turn on my meter. We're just going to put it in continuity mode here. We're not going to put it on the screen or anything. I can take the power off. So we're not going to put it on the screen or anything. And I'm going to plug in my test board here. On the test board, it tells me if the pins are connected. And as soon as my community tab is up, I will post a link to the document I'm about to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my switch data here. Let me just get the data open. File wasn't open, so I'll just open it real quick. But I'm going to use this USB testing jig here to test to see if all the pins are connected correctly. So that is what is going to happen. Let's get this open. So I'm going to show you this document. If you look here, this is the document. It has all the layouts of where everything goes. So I am going to be testing it on the MDB using these two images here. So I'll put those in the top corner, and I will plug in this, put my meter on continuity, and I will plug in the USB testing port, and then we will test for ground first with the shield. These are all ground right there, and then we will test the power, which is V bus. V bus 1 and 2 are connected. I believe this one is D plus. Okay, so one of my D plus pins on the bottom row is not connected. So, and D plus on the, so that port is not sitting correctly. So I can tell that by not having connections on two of the hidden row pins. So if you look at this right here, if this will focus, the B side is the hidden row of pins. So if I don't have a connection that I'm supposed to have on that side, I know that that hidden row of pins is not properly soldered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my nozzle off my hot air station. Come here. I'm going to put that there like so. Grab my tweezers. And I'm going to, with no nozzle, at 420. Actually, I'm going to go, yeah, about 420. And I'm going to heat this up until that flows. I'm going to add a little bit of flux. A little bit of flux in there. And I'm going to reseat that USB port, hopefully without melting it. Slowly warming up the board. I don't want to just go in for the kill right away. So I'm going to slowly warm this up. So I don't want to melt the port either. So I want to slowly warm it up. Wait for the port to move a little bit. Just like if I was going to pull the port again, just taking a little bit more care in doing so. Just tapping the port. Okay, that port is loose on that side, so I'm going to come in here like so. And I'm going to push this down. And hopefully I got that bottom row of pins melted. So I'm going to hold that down like so. And hopefully that is all connected underneath there. Just wait a little bit for that to solidify. And I'm going to let this cool down. So this port is a little bit more of an install than normally, but that happens. So it's still very hot. So we're just going to let that cool down. So in the meantime, and my next step is I'm going to plug this back in there when it cools down and test it again to see if I have my D plus, D minus, and then the rest of the pins connected. So this doesn't work. I believe I can reflow it one more time before I do any lasting damage to it. So I'm going to take my testing plug it in, and then I'm going to get my meter, put it on my D plus here, and now I have connection on both. D minus, so far so good. Now I need VCon and CC. VCon is this one, I believe, is VCon. You can see that. VCon is right there. So that's good. And then CC is this side here. So CC and VCon are your power delivery. D plus and D minus go through that filter, that blue, right to the CPU. So we're hoping the CPU is not damaged. So now we're going to flip this over and we're going to test the rest of our pins. So we are going to come up here like so, and we are going to go right across the filters here. So, and then we're also going to test to see if the filters are good by touching the other side of the filter. So first up on this list of filters, I believe is it really V-bus 2? S-bus? And S-bus 1. Okay, it is S-bus. So I'm going to touch this side of the filter, and I'm going to touch S-bus 2. Is it S-bus 2? No, it's V-bus. Oh my god. Okay, so this is S-bus 1. Okay, if I touch this side here, it's S-bus 2. If I come up to this side of the filter, S-bus 1, and this side of the filter. So I'm also checking to see if the filter's good. So we'll just do that with all of these. It's hard to see without the scope. So the next one on the line is RX2 negative and minus, negative and plus. So next one, that one's good. Next on the list is TX2 negative and plus. There we go. And then the next on the list is TX1 negative and then positive. And then finally is RX1 negative, RX1 positive. So all our bottom pins are connected and all our top pins are connected. So that shows me that the port has been installed. So the reflow worked on that. So now what is left to do? Let us have a look at our little filter, that blue. Hopefully I didn't lose that. So get that out of the way. Let us have a look at our filter here. So right there it is. I can get it into better focus. So there is our filter, that blue. Now, I am going to attempt to just flow the filter that I have here onto the pads. There's the filter, and I'm hoping not to bridge anything, but we are going to find out. So I'm going to add me a little bit of chip quick flux. Let's go to the scope. Let's get that off the screen, and we are going to add a little bit of chip quick flux to this, like so. We are going to put our nozzle on. There we go. We're going to get our hot air gun out, and we are going to turn our airflow down to 40. And we are going to come in here with our tweezers and hold on to this component wherever it has migrated to. There it is, and we are going to slowly heat this up. And hopefully going to flow onto this spot there. All right, so that should, that's a little crooked, so I'm going to add a little bit more flux to that. Let's see if I can get it to line itself up. Nudge. There we go. So we're going to test it to make sure that it's not shorted across itself. Get my little brush here. I'm going to clean it. And we're going to test to make sure it's not shorted across. And there's also continuity to different spots here. So we need to check this way. It's shorted this way. Nope. It's good. And then we need to check there. Okay, so that's good. So now what I need to do is I need to clean this up really good here. I wish I could really get the light in there better. I need to clean this up really good because I need to apply some solder mask to this this joint here. So I'm going to get this cleaned up very carefully without, I'm using a very soft brush to do this. Get all the flux off of there with some alcohol. Get all that off of there like that. We know it's not bridged or anything, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my compressed air and dry that. All right, so a little bit more scrubby around there because I got to get some solder mask on there. So, all right, so I think that's good. We're gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna get out my UV pen, my UV laser. It's still working here. Here's my laser pen here. Let's check it. I still have juice in it. And then I'm going to get my solder mask and a syringe needle. And this one will work. This is a super teeny tiny needle. This is a 25 gauge. To clean this off, I'm going to expand that up there until some comes out. All right. So I decanted it into a regular syringe because I was having issues with it leaking. Okay, so all right, so now I'm going to go back over to the scope here, and I'm going to dispense a wee dribble of this on top of that component, like so. I'm going to take my teasing needle that I use for this kind of thing, and I'm going to coat this area very lightly with the solder mask. There we go. Now that has the solder mask on there. What I'm going to do is it's gross. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off of the camera here. I'm going to take it over here and I'm going to cure it with the UV pen, UV laser. Trying not to show it to the camera or look at it because it can cause damage to your eyes. So we're going to give it probably a good 20-30 seconds. So this is a perfect time to like and subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. I believe in the last one we realized that we have to change P13, so that will probably be in the next episode. Just wanted to show the USB port with the hot plate and then this filter replacement, and then the next one will be the USB P13 USB. I believe this one needs the P13 USB. I'm not 100% sure now. It sounds right, but who really knows? Okay, so that's going to be cured. Let's let that sit for a second, and let's check this capacitor real quick to see if P13 is... Yeah, P13 is shot. So let's look at this back under the scope and before we call it here. So there we go. There is that UV mask. It should be hardened. Yep, nice and hard. It's protecting that filter that we know is not shorted and we know is connected. So that is that filter replacement from the blown trace. We didn't have to run any wire, and the USB port soldered down. In the next one, we will change P13 USB and test this bad boy and see if we get it working. Here are the links to social media. Thank you all for watching, and you can also visit me on Patreon where I do post Switch data, and there will be some stuff in the community tab as soon as it becomes available. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.